The cracks in my marriage had been growing for months, but it wasn't until recently that I felt the full weight of betrayal. I'm 34 years old, married to my wife, Emily, for 9 of our 14 years together. What started as a suspicion has now spiraled into a tormenting certainty. I believe she's cheating on me. It all began one ordinary evening when Emily told me she was going out with friends. I thought nothing of it until I heard from our mutual friends the next day. She had lied about where she was going and who she was with. When I confronted her, she admitted the truth, saying she ran into our friends unexpectedly. But the seed of doubt had already been planted. Over the next few weeks, I noticed her behavior becoming increasingly secretive. She'd lie about who she was talking to on the phone and where she was going. The final straw came when I checked our mobile call and text logs. In just 25 days, half of her communications were with a man from work, John, who was almost old enough to be her father. 17 pictures were sent to him, yet she insisted they were just memes. She said he was unattractive and that she was helping him get promoted, a task she had little control over. Our confrontation was inevitable. I asked her about the calls and texts. She dismissed my concerns, saying I was overreacting and owed her an apology for snooping. She kept pressing her case, insisting I had nothing to worry about, even after I said everything was okay. But I knew better. I didn't believe her. My mind became a battlefield of emotions. Anger, betrayal, sadness, and confusion consumed me. Our sex life was non-existent, and she had recently lost a lot of weight, attracting more attention. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being played for a fool. As days turned into weeks, the tension between us grew unbearable. Emily's dismissive attitude and continued secrecy only fueled my suspicions. I felt isolated, unable to confide in friends or family for fear of judgment. My trust in her was shattered, and every interaction became a reminder of the deceit that had infiltrated our marriage. One night, after another argument, I decided to dig deeper. I found more incriminating evidence, deleted texts, late-night calls, and photos that weren't just memes. My heart sank. I knew I couldn't keep living like this, in a constant state of paranoia and mistrust. I confronted her again, this time with the evidence. She broke down, finally admitting to an emotional affair. She claimed it was never physical, that she needed someone to talk to, someone who appreciated her. But her words felt hollow, her excuses weak. The damage was done. Emily moved out, unable to face the reality of what she had done. Our home, once filled with love and laughter, now echoed with silence and pain. Friends and family took sides, some supporting me, others trying to understand her actions. The emotional toll was immense. In the months that followed, I struggled to rebuild my life. The betrayal had left deep scars, and trusting anyone again seemed impossible. I threw myself into work, trying to find solace in routine, but the loneliness was overwhelming. Nights were the worst, haunted by memories and what-ifs. The loneliness became unbearable. I started drinking more, seeking a numbness that never lasted. I withdrew from friends and family, unable to face their pity or concern. The house, once a sanctuary, became a prison of painful memories and broken dreams. One evening, after another sleepless night, I sought out therapy, hoping to find some semblance of peace. The sessions were painful, forcing me to confront my feelings of betrayal and inadequacy. Slowly, I began to understand the depths of my pain and the complex emotions that had consumed me. Despite my efforts, the wounds remained fresh. Emily reached out occasionally, seeking forgiveness, but her words only reopened the scars. I knew we couldn't go back to what we were, that too much had been broken. But moving forward seemed just as impossible. Months later, I learned that Emily had started a relationship with John. The revelation was a final blow, shattering any remaining illusions I had about our past. The anger and betrayal resurfaced, stronger than ever. It felt like a never-ending nightmare, one I couldn't escape. As I sit here, writing this, the future feels uncertain. The betrayal has left a permanent mark on my soul, and trusting again seems like an insurmountable challenge. But I know I must try. For my own sanity, for my future. The journey will be long and painful, but I hope that one day, I'll find peace and rebuild the pieces of my shattered life. In the end, there was no happy ending, no neat resolution, just the raw, painful reality of a love betrayed and a heart broken. The scars will fade, but the memories will always remain. And as I navigate this new chapter of my life, I carry with me the lessons learned and the hope that one day, the pain will lessen and I'll find a way to trust again. For weeks after Emily moved out, the silence in the house was suffocating. The quiet was a constant reminder of her absence, and my mind was a battlefield of what-ifs and why didn't. I found myself replaying our last argument over and over, analyzing every word, every gesture, trying to find a clue, a reason for why things had fallen apart so spectacularly. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than she had admitted. Her claims of it being just an emotional affair seemed implausible, especially given the intensity of their interactions. The deleted texts, the secretive phone calls, the pictures, they all pointed to something deeper, something more intimate. But the more I dug, the more elusive the truth became. My drinking had become a problem. It started with a glass of wine to help me sleep, then two, then three. Before I knew it, I was finishing a bottle a night. The alcohol dulled the pain, made the nights more bearable, but the mornings were hell. The hangovers were a stark reminder of my descent, and the days were filled with a fog that made it hard to function. Therapy was a lifeline, but it wasn't a quick fix. My therapist, Dr. Reed, was patient, guiding me through the labyrinth of my emotions. She helped me understand that the betrayal I felt wasn't just about Emily's actions, but about the destruction of the life we had built together. The future I had envisioned was gone, replaced by uncertainty and fear. Friends tried to help, but their reactions varied. Some were supportive, offering a shoulder to cry on and a listening ear. Others were judgmental, questioning my decision to snoop, suggesting that my actions had contributed to the breakdown of our marriage. Their words stung, adding to the guilt and shame I already felt. Family was another complication. My parents were devastated, their disappointment palpable. They had adored Emily, and the news of our separation hit them hard. My mother tried to be supportive, but her constant calls and advice were overwhelming. My father, on the other hand, was stoic, his silence a heavy presence that spoke volumes. Sleep became an elusive dream. Nights were spent tossing and turning, haunted by memories and regrets. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying our arguments, wondering where things had gone wrong. The exhaustion was crippling, making it hard to function during the day. Work was my only escape, but even there, the pain followed me. I threw myself into projects, staying late at the office to avoid going home to an empty house. My colleagues noticed the change, their concern evident in their glances and whispered conversations. I tried to hide my pain, but it was a thin veneer, easily shattered. One day, I ran into Emily at a coffee shop. It was awkward, the silence between us heavy with unspoken words. She looked different, happier, as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Seeing her like that was a punch to the gut, a stark reminder of what I had lost. For a brief moment, I entertained the idea of reconciliation. I imagined us sitting down, talking things through, finding a way to rebuild what we had lost. But that hope was quickly dashed when I learned about her relationship with John. It was the final blow, a confirmation that there was no going back. In a moment of weakness, I called her, demanding answers. The conversation was heated, filled with accusations, and denials. She admitted that her relationship with John had become physical, but insisted that it had only started after we separated. Her words were a knife to the heart, cutting deep into my already fragile psyche. After that call, I hit rock bottom. The drinking escalated, my work suffered, and I withdrew even further from friends and family. The pain was unbearable, a constant companion that refused to let go. I felt like I was drowning, unable to find a way out. Slowly, painfully, I began to rebuild. I cut back on the drinking, focusing on healthier ways to cope with the pain. I started running, the physical exertion a welcome distraction from the emotional turmoil. I reconnected with friends, their support a lifeline in the dark times. The house, once a prison, became a place of healing. I redecorated, removing reminders of our past and creating a space that felt like mine. It wasn't easy, and there were days when the loneliness was overwhelming. But each small step forward was a victory, a sign that I could survive this. In therapy, I started to explore the idea of forgiveness, not for Emily, but for myself. I needed to forgive myself for the mistakes I had made, for the trust one had misplaced. It was a slow process, but with Dr. Reed's help, I began to see a glimmer of hope. The future is still uncertain, and the scars of betrayal will always be there. But I'm learning to live with them, to accept that they are part of my story. Trusting again will be hard, but I know it's possible. And as I navigate this new chapter of my life, I carry with me the lessons learned and the hope that one day I'll find peace and rebuild the pieces of my shattered life. In the end, there was no happy ending, no neat resolution, just the raw, painful reality of a love betrayed and a heart broken. The scars will fade, but the memories will always remain. And as I navigate this new chapter of my life, I carry with me the lessons learned and the hope that one day the pain will lessen and I'll find a way to trust again.